Dealing with death. Terms and conditions legal notice. The publisher has strived to be as accurate and complete as possible in the creation of this report, notwithstanding the fact that he does not warrant or represent at any time that the contents within are accurate due to the rapidly changing nature of the Internet. While all attempts have been made to verify information provided in this publication, the publisher assumes no responsibility for errors, omissions, or contrary interpretation of the subject matter herein. Any perceived slights of specific persons, peoples, or organizations are unintentional. In practical advice books, like anything else in life, there are no guarantees of income made. Readers are cautioned to rely on their own judgment about their individual circumstances to act accordingly. This book is not intended for use as a source of legal, business, accounting, or financial advice. All readers are advised to seek services of competent professionals in legal, business, accounting, and finance fields. You are encouraged to print this book for easy reading. Table of Contents. Foreword. Chapter 1, About Death and Grief. Chapter 2, Saying Goodbye. Chapter 3, Helping Yourself, Others and a Legacy. Chapter 4, Handling Grief. Chapter 5, More detailed info. Wrapping up. Foreword. We grief-stricken are not alone. When it appears that our sorrow is too great to bear, let us consider the great family of the heavy-hearted into which our grief has rendered us entrance, and inevitably, we'll feel about us their arms, their understanding, their sympathy. It's dreadful when somebody you love goes through the pain of mourning. You feel overwrought and completely unable to assist. You can't take away the sorrow, but we reveal a lot of things you're able to do to make everyday life more endurable for them. The book is full of small ways, and large ways, you're able to help somebody you care about cope a little bit better. Dealing with death. Helpful strategies to coping with grief, sadness, and loss. Chapter 1, About Death and Grief. Synopsis. Death and grief isn't something that may be compartmentalized. It's inconceivable to tell somebody that he or she will grieve for 3 months or 6 months or a couple of years before beginning to feel good. There's no set time frame for you to mourn your loved one. Mourning is a procedure, not an event. Behind it, the beginning stage of grief is denial. The grief-stricken feel as though this isn't happening to them, that their loved one truly didn't die and everything will be all right. The second stage of grief is angriness. This may be anger at anybody from the deceased to the higher power. For instance, those in bereavement frequently have thoughts of, "Why did you leave me unaccompanied like this?" toward their loved ones who passed away. Or else, their anger might be directed at the higher power for taking away a loved one. The third stage of grief is bargaining. At that stage, the bereaved will promise anything in order to make life get back to normal. It frequently involves promising to be a better individual. For instance, those who have lost a loved one frequently bargain with the higher power, "I'll quit smoking if I may have him back." The fourth stage of grief is depression. This is true, crushing grieving. The truth of the death has finally set in and feelings of sorrow and helplessness come in. The last stage of grief is acceptance. This is when the grieving will start to feel better and return to a normal life. In acceptance there's healing, as in acceptance, there's reality. Death is the final truth of life. An alternate view. The first stage of grief, as described by an alternate view, is what is referred to as numbness, a state where the grief-stricken merely go through the motions of daily life and tasks. They literally feel numb and void inside. There is little thought devoted to anything besides their grief. The second stage is disorganization. This is where sorrow deepens and the grieving actively mourn the loss of their loved ones. This is like the depression stage of grief as defined originally. The last stage of grief is reorganization. This is likewise similar to acceptance and the stage when the grief-stricken start to feel emotionally solider and normal. When will you begin to feel better? These levels of grief are only possibilities and both have their merits. They try to clarify and universalize the grief experience, as this is the one thing that we all have in common, death, and confronting the death of other people. Everybody will mourn the loss of a loved one differently. Anybody who's ever experienced mourning will identify with one, both, or a combination of the two possibilities on the stages of sorrow. Each death you go through will be unlike the others. The stages of grief might last longer or be lighter depending upon the relationship held with the deceased. There's no schedule for grieving your loss. The beauty of being a part of the human experience is that we're all different in the way we comprehend the world, one another, and ourselves. The experience of loss, death, and grief is dissimilar for everybody. It's important to spend as much time as you require to mourn the loss of your loved one. The crucial thing to remember is that you'll feel better. It will take time to heal and the feelings will be intense, but you'll heal. This, too, will blow over. Chapter 2, Saying Goodbye. Synopsis. Funerals are for the living. While that might appear to be a statement of the perceptible, it's a crucial fact to remember in the designing of a funeral. Nothing in the funeral will bring the departed back to life or make sorrow disappear. What the funeral or memorial service may do, all the same, is let mourners start healing by sharing their loss, showing their feelings, and commemorating an unequaled and precious life. What to know? A funeral service is told apart from a memorial service by the presence or absence of the body of the departed. If the body is there, the service is called a funeral. When the body is absent, the service is a memorial. Either sort of service is suitable for a burial or a cremation. A funeral service might be held in a funeral parlor, a church building, or in the family house, whereas a memorial service might be held any place. The funeral or memorial is a chance for loved ones and friends to reflect on the life and observe the memory of the deceased. Beyond what is ordained by religious or cultural custom, funerals may be as unique as the people they honor. The opening move, then, in designing a funeral service is to ascertain whether or not the funeral will include a religious service. Religious funeral services. In a few religious funeral services, eulogies are not permitted. Instead, the clergy member who carries on the service will deliver a sermon centering on religious beliefs surrounding dying and life after death. In such instances, it's entirely appropriate for an acquaintance or family member of the deceased person to deliver a eulogy after the religious ceremony. Time might likewise be set aside for individual guests to share their views and memories of the deceased in their own mini-eulogies. If you anticipate that a few of the guests attending a religious funeral won't be of the same religious affiliation, make sure to provide a guide explaining the services. Whether or not a funeral or memorial service is religious, there's ample chance to plan a unique service that's a fitting testimonial to the deceased. For a religious ceremony, the clergy member who will be guiding the service may tell you which parts of the ritual may be personalized. For instance, if the service involves a reading from a sacred text, you might be able to pick out the particular passage. Personalizing the ceremony. If the funeral or memorial isn't a religious service, however, you've the freedom to design the service according to the wants of the deceased and the loved ones. Although the service isn't a religious rite, readings might include passages from religious text or preferred prayers. A preferred poem of the deceased might also be read, or a funeral poem might be chosen to express the feelings of the mourners. Music is a different significant part of any ritual memorializing one of life's major events, whether religious or not. A thoughtful selection of funeral music will set the feel for the service and produce enduring memories for the guests. Visual art might likewise be employed in the funeral service, by displaying either works produced or inspired by the deceased or photographs memorializing the life of the deceased. Chapter 3, Helping Yourself, Others and a Legacy. Synopsis. Constructive ways to help other people grieve and remember. Ways to remember. Assist your friend plant a tree for remembering his departed loved one. Propose that your friend produces a collage of her preferred photos of her and the departed, and even have her compose a message on it. Purchase a journal for the grieving, in which he may keep memories of his loved one. Put together a CD of the departed's favorite music. Make a special trip to the departed's preferred place. Begin a fresh yearly tradition, and write it on your calendar to prompt yourself, so that your friend recognizes her loved one will never be forgotten. Build a cement stepping stone with the departed's name, and put it in a calm spot. Discover if the departed had a particular cause, and organize a fundraiser for a contribution in his name. If he loved the outside, donate to the Sierra Club. If he enjoyed dogs or cats, donate to the ASPCA. Reuse the departed's clothing and turn it into something memorable, like a pillow with her name embroidered on it. Make a box of the departed's preferred things, include a preferred movie, CD, book, quotations and so forth. If your friend opens it, he'll remember the things his loved one cherished and will feel close to the departed once more. Name a star after the departed. Establish a memorial garden, regardless how small, with the departed's favorite plants and flowers. Do not state, "It was his time." Everything occurs for a reason. You're lucky you even had a daddy, mother, brother. It's time you bounced back from it. He's in a finer place. You have to let her go. I understand how you feel. God wanted him more than you. God didn't give you anything you can't manage. Men do not cry. However, remember, the worst thing you may say is nothing at all. The legacy: how do you wish to be recalled? It's a question most of us will come across at some point in our lives. Ask the individuals around you what they wish to be remembered for, and you'll likely hear answers like, assisting other people, being a great wife, or husband or parent. Integrity: while it's natural to wish to honor and preserve the memory of somebody who's passed away, survivors might be unsure of the most beneficial way to accomplish that. If you're considering ways to observe your loved one, ask yourself how he or she would wish to be remembered. You'll without doubt come up with numerous awesome ideas, but if you require some suggestions, think about the accompanying. Donate cash to a worthy cause your loved one would back. Buy a park bench with your loved one's name engraved. Volunteer with your local hospice to assist dying patients and their families. If the departed leaves school-age youngsters, begin a scholarship fund to back their education. Help to mentor the surviving youngsters. Direct a community blood drive in memory of the departed. Offer time with the local library, community center, or another organization that might be meaningful to your loved one. In addition to maintaining your loved one's legacy, you'll reap the advantages of assisting other people, a potent way to help your grief-stricken heart to heal. Chapter 4: Handling Grief. Synopsis: grief is an individual experience, unequaled to every mourner and unique to every loss. Grief comes out in waves, as times of peace and quiet are suddenly smashed by overwhelming emotion. The accompanying techniques provide a few propositions to help you ride out the waves as you meet your sorrow. Dealing with it: take respite. In a lot of ways, the feeling of grief is similar to recuperation from a serious illness. A few days will be blacker, and a few will be sunnier. Realize your limits, and separate the things that have to be done from those that may wait. Don't fret about keeping up with your common schedule. If you have to cancel or reschedule committals, individuals will understand. Keep away from arriving at major decisions. Grief may cloud your judgment and make it hard to see past the pain you're feeling at the moment. Impetuous decisions, to move or shift jobs, for instance, may have extensive implications for which you might be unprepared. If you have to make a crucial decision, talk over your options with somebody you trust, like a friend or financial consultant. Speak. Awful feelings held inside are like an infection festering in an injury. They have to come out in order for you to mend. If friends ask how they may assist, ask them to simply be with you and listen. Tell them how crucial it is for you to be able to convey what you're thinking and feeling. If you believe you need more than the support of your acquaintances, think about talking with a professional person. Convey yourself creatively. Composing is a different awesome way to express yourself. Try maintaining a journal or composing letters, whether you mail them or not. If words won't come, artistic releases like painting or sculpting may help you to communicate what's in your heart and soul. Originative expression may bring lucidity to the turmoil you feel and insight into feelings you weren't cognizant of. Observe your loved one's memory. Maintain your memories in ways that are consoling and meaningful. Blow up and frame a preferred photo of your loved one, or compile a scrapbook of letters and souvenirs from the great times you shared. Make a comforter from his clothing, or plant a tree or a bed of his preferred flowers to produce a lasting tribute. Giving time or money to your loved one's preferred cause or charity is likewise a noble way to observe her memory. Attend to your physical health. Grief takes a physical toll in addition to an emotional toll. Rest, workout, and proper nutrition are crucial to healing. Counterbalance a poor appetite by consuming little amounts of healthy foods instead of big meals. If you have trouble sleeping, attempt taking brief naps or simply putting your feet up and relaxing whenever you are able to. And while you might not be motivated to work out, simply taking a brief walk from time to time may lift your spirits and help you to sleep at night. Keep away from using chemicals to numb your feelings. A glass of wine may be great for the soul and help to settle nerves, but overdoing it may cause a host of new issues. Have fun. Grieving is hard, but it doesn't mean you have to feel foul all the time. As a matter of fact, it's crucial to take a break from centering on your grief. Have fun when you are able to, whether it's reading a great book, watching a film, playing cards, or resuming additional activities you loved before your loss. Don't feel guilty about it. Plan ahead for particular occasions. Anniversaries and holidays may be stressful times when you've lost somebody you love, and particularly so in the first year or two. Talk with loved ones about your concerns. This might be a great time to introduce fresh traditions to mark particular occasions. Reach out. To begin with, grief might be so intense that you simply wish to withdraw or isolate. Soon, though, you'll be prepared to ease back into social contact. Make a date with an old acquaintance, or invite a neighbor to luncheon. Or attempt volunteering with your church or preferred charity. You'll make fresh social contacts while you help other people, and you'll feel great about yourself. Chapter 5, more detailed info synopsis. In today's domain we have gotten accustomed to scheduling so much of life. Most of us own at any rate one organizer or appointment calendar. All the same, grief is one thing that will never fit in an engagement square. You might find there are times when you're in the middle of a normal, pleasant activity and abruptly a wash of grief comes across you. Understand that this is common and that grief may come up at any time, without notice. More info. There is so little of life we command. Grief's timing is amidst the uncontrollable. Anticipate experiences, similar to these, often over the first 3 to 6 months. The frequency is oftentimes based on how close you were to the departed. Over the course of a year, they'll decrease, but they might still occur from time to time. Physical symptoms. If grief covers us with its black wings, it's much like a grave illness. We'll be emotionally and physically depleted and an assortment of symptoms will follow. It's important to be aware of these symptoms, all the same, so we don't think we're going crazy. These symptoms will pass as we go through our grief. If you discover any symptom to be overpowering or unbearable, contact a professional. Here is a little of the generally reported symptoms: painful sensation, sleep troubles, pitiful appetite or overeating, shaking or trembling, listlessness, disorientation, headaches, lightheadedness, dry mouth, crying, numbness, breathlessness, exhaustion. A time to back away. Many individuals will experience a state of numbness while going through grief. The world might assume a dreamlike quality or appear to go on apart from them. Frequently, experiences or individuals that once aroused joy and happiness arouse nothing at all. Activities once loved seem alien. Some individuals spend a relatively short time in that numb state, as short as a couple of days, while other people feel it lingers. This is part of how our bodies help to protect us from the overpowering emotions induced by our loved one's demise. We get numb and filter through data as we are able, rather than all at once. The feelings will return, but it will take time. Hand in hand with exhaustion, executing our daily activities, even if they're ones we used to love, might seem overpowering. Most individuals are not able to sustain a variety of interests directly after this shock. Don't make expectations for yourself to accomplish everything. Rather, look at your commitments and attempt to minimize. Reach event or group coordinators to let them know that you'll be taking a little time off, indefinitely. Capricious living. While a few grievers withdraw, other people will compulsively pursue activities. The thought procedure frequently goes like this: life is short. I'd better do everything now that I forever wanted to accomplish, spend all the cash, sell the home and move to a Hawaii island, write that book, divorce my mate, and so forth. Other people will take unneeded risks. It's imperative to cautiously monitor your behavior during the first year. Don't make impulsive decisions. Don't sell your home, alter locations, divorce a partner, and so forth. Wait till the fog has lifted and you are able to clearly see the choices available to you. The world gets dreamlike. Many individuals, who have lost somebody suddenly, find the world becomes a dreamlike place. It's almost as if we're floating without seeing or comprehending. Everything becomes a blur as the construct of time vanishes. Days are measured by 1 day after he passed away, 2 days after he passed away. All standard concepts dissolve. A few have described it as slogging through molasses, a slow-motion movie, a feeling like they're not in their body. Maybe this is nature's way of slowing us down to mend. Wrapping up, comprehend that sorrow comes out in waves. When the initial shock wears away, the first wave might feel overwhelming. Luckily, every wave of sorrow finally subsides, even as waves in the ocean do. You are able to therefore comfort yourself during each wave of sorrow with the awareness that, this too shall blow over. The better you react to the waves of sorrow, the more rapidly they pass and the sooner you'll finish your grieving procedure. The sorrow lasts from a few months to many years, depending upon the sort of loss experienced. That means the waves will go along to come and go for that time period. Fight them and they'll simply get stronger. Learn to go with them and move through them efficaciously, and they'll lessen more quickly. Some crying may be and even needs to be done alone, whereas facets of the sorrow procedure require that you do at least part of your crying in the presence of entrusted loved ones. You utterly must understand how to cry. Crying may really be seen as a skill, in that some individuals know how to do it, some don't, and it may be taught. Here are a few exercises to help you cry if you've difficulty doing so. Go into a dark or dimly lit room, where you won't be disturbed. Curl up on a bed or on the floor in a great deal of pillows. Let your emotions and the sensations in your body be your usher. They will tell you what to do if you've the sensitivity to listen. Create a vocal sound that matches with the feelings of grief and pain in your tummy, heart and throat. This might come out as a howl, a whimper, a wail or a roar. It's crucial that you let these sounds out, as they provide you emotional release that differently is simply not possible. Deep, long sobbing is the key to potent emotional freeing. That's what you're going for in the attempt to cry. Softly leaking a couple of tears is better than nothing, but it won't get to the heart of the issue. When you go through deep loss, your body has to sob deep and long till you feel a release and a sense of relief. You might need to do this numerous times during the grieving procedure. Sobbing happens as a sort of rapid coughing or convulsing rhythm in your belly, so the stomach must be relaxed for this to occur. Relaxing your stomach and breathing deeply may often facilitate crying. The crucial point to bear in mind is that you don't have to suffer from these losses for the remainder of your life. You are able to take control by moving through your own sorrow to a point of peace and resolution, becoming wiser and stronger in the procedure. Thank you for watching my video.